The wind screamed across the frozen plains of Outpost 9, a lonely mining station at the edge of human space. Rusted towers stood like bones under a dark red sky. The temperature dropped so low that even machines froze if they stopped moving. Jared Cole walked slowly through the snow. His coat was torn, his boots were patched with tape, and his face was red from the cold. He was a middle-aged man who had already seen too much of life. Once he had been a ship mechanic, proud of his work. Now he was just another forgotten worker, living day by day, waiting for the next job that would never come. The outpost had gone silent after the mine shut down. No ships came anymore, no supplies, only wind, hunger, and silence. Jared's stomach growled, but he ignored it. He carried a small light and searched the snow for scrap metal to trade. Anything to buy food or fuel, anything to stay alive. As he walked near the old landing zone, something strange caught his eye. A faint blue glow half buried under the ice. At first he thought it was just a broken power cell, but as he stepped closer, his heart froze. It wasn't a machine, it was a person, a woman, barely breathing, her skin a soft blue color that shimmered like moonlight. Her hair was silver white, tangled with frost, and her eyes, half open, glowed faintly. She wasn't human. Jared had seen many species in his travels, but never one like her. He looked around. No one else was there. The outpost guards would never help. They hated aliens. To them, anything not human was dangerous, unwanted, better left to die. For a moment, Jared almost walked away. He had no food, no money, not even enough heat to survive another night himself. Helping her would mean freezing to death, but then she moved. Just a small twitch of her hand, weak, trembling, reaching out toward him. He heard a faint sound like a whisper. "It's cold." Jared's breath came out in white clouds. He looked down at her thin body and saw how her skin was turning pale. He couldn't stop himself. "Hold on," he said softly. "Don't die here." He lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in weeks. He could feel her coldness through his coat. It burned like ice. He carried her toward the trade shop, his boots crunching over snow. Inside the shop, the old robot clerk blinked to life. "What do you want, Cole?" "I need a thermal blanket," Jared said. 3 credits. He opened his wallet. There was only 1 credit left. His last. He had been saving it for food. He stared at the screen for a long moment. The robot waited silently. Finally, Jared said, "Give me the blanket." The robot's metal hand slid it across the counter. "You're out of money now. No more trade until payment." "Yeah," Jared muttered. "Story of my life." He ran back through the storm, carrying the alien woman wrapped in the warm silver blanket. By the time he reached his small hut, his hands were numb and his lungs burned from the cold. He laid her on his narrow bed, covering her tightly. His heater barely worked, but he turned it up as high as it would go. The air filled with a weak hum and the smell of burnt dust. For hours, Jared sat beside her, watching. Her breathing was shallow. Her lips were blue. Sometimes she shivered. Sometimes she went completely still. He spoke quietly, though he didn't know why. "You picked the wrong planet to fall on, lady. This place eats people alive." After a while, he dozed off in the chair beside her bed. The heater sputtered, then died again. Cold crept in through the walls. He hugged his arms tight and tried to stay awake. Then something warm touched his hand. He opened his eyes and froze. The alien woman's hand was resting on his. Her skin glowed softly and heat spread from her fingers like sunlight through ice. The air in the room grew warmer, brighter. Her silver eyes opened slowly. She looked right at him. "You saved me." Jared's throat tightened. "You were dying," he said. She blinked slowly, studying his face. "Why would you help?" "A stranger?" he sighed. "Because nobody helped me when I needed it. Guess I didn't want to make the same mistake." The alien smiled faintly, a small curve of her lips. "You're kind. Don't say that," Jared said. "I just did what was right." For a moment they sat in silence, the storm howling outside. Then the woman whispered something that made Jared's blood run cold. She said his name. "Jared." He stared at her in shock. "How do you know my name?" Her glowing eyes softened and her voice trembled as she spoke. "Because I dreamed it." The wind outside roared louder, shaking the walls. Jared's heart pounded. He didn't understand what was happening, but deep down he knew this night was only the beginning. Jared Cole woke to the sound of quiet breathing. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. The air in his hut felt different, warmer, softer. The cold that had been biting his bones last night was gone. He opened his eyes and saw her. The alien woman was sitting up on his bed wrapped in the silver blanket. The blue glow under her skin had returned, faint but steady like a slow heartbeat of light. Her silver eyes turned toward him. "You didn't leave," she said softly. Jared rubbed his face and tried to wake up fully. "Didn't have anywhere to go?" "You could have," she said, her voice almost musical but weak. "You could have left me in the snow." "Many would," he shrugged. "Yeah, well, I'm not many." The woman tilted her head, studying him as if trying to understand something deep inside his mind. "You are Jared Cole." Hearing his name again made him uneasy. "You keep saying that." "How do you know my name?" She looked down at her hands. "It came to me while I was dreaming. I saw fire. And a face. Yours." Jared stood up slowly, uneasy now. "Dreams don't tell names," he said. "Who are you, really?" "I am called Lyra," she said after a pause. "At least I think that was my name before." Her voice trailed off, lost in memory. "Before what?" Jared asked. She looked around the small room, her eyes tracing the cracked walls, the broken heater, the frozen window. "Before I woke up here. Before everything went silent." Jared sighed. "You don't remember how you got here?" "No." She touched the blanket lightly, her fingers glowing where the fabric met her skin. "But I remember my people, the Etheri. We were made to bring life to dying worlds. We could heal soil, water, and air with our energy. But someone changed us." Jared frowned. "Changed you? How?" Lyra closed her eyes. "They took us. They made us soldiers. They said they would save the galaxy, but instead they made us weapons." Her voice trembled. "We were forced to destroy what we were meant to heal." Jared didn't know what to say. He had seen war before. He had repaired ships that dropped bombs on colonies, ships that never came back. He knew what it meant to be used. She looked at him suddenly. "Do humans still fight?" He gave a short, bitter laugh. "Always. We fight over land, over food, over things that don't even matter." Lyra's glow dimmed a little. "Then nothing has changed." For a while they sat in silence. The storm outside had ended, but the air still hummed with cold. Jared tried to fix the heater, but when he reached for it, it suddenly flickered and came back to life. The red light blinked steady and warmth spread through the room. He stared. "I didn't even touch the wires." Lyra looked guilty. "I'm sorry. It happens sometimes. My energy reacts to machines." Jared blinked. "You just fixed my heater by thinking." She gave a faint smile. "No, by feeling." Before he could reply, a loud buzzing sound filled the room. The old comms unit on the wall crackled to life. A rough voice spoke through the static. "Attention all citizens of Outpost 9. Energy spike detected in Sector 3. Stay inside. Do not approach. Security teams are investigating." Jared's heart jumped. His hut was in Sector 3. He turned to Lyra. "They'll be coming." Lyra looked frightened now. "Who?" "The guards," Jared said. "They don't like outsiders, especially ones who glow." She stood up unsteadily. "Then I should go." "You can't," Jared said quickly. "You'll freeze again. You're not strong enough." "I can't stay either," she said. "They will kill you for hiding me." Jared looked at the flickering light, the small heater humming again. For the first time in months, his home felt alive. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He clenched his fists. "I've lost everything already," he said quietly. "What's one more risk?" Lyra looked at him, her silver eyes soft but filled with pain. "You are strange, Jared Cole." "Yeah," he said with a small grin. "I get that a lot." Outside, heavy boots crunched through the snow. The sound grew louder. Voices shouted commands. Lyra stepped closer, her glow brightening. "They will take me. They will study me. I cannot go back to them." Jared took a deep breath. "Then we'll find another way." "How?" He looked toward the floor hatch that led down to the old mining tunnels. Dark, dangerous, but forgotten. "Through there," Lyra hesitated. "If we go, there is no return." Jared grabbed a flashlight and his old jacket. Wasn't planning to come back anyway. Outside, the door scanner beeped as soldiers approached. Jared pulled the hatch open. "Go," he whispered. Lyra climbed down first, her light glowing softly in the dark. Jared followed and sealed the hatch just as the soldiers kicked the door open above. The sound of boots echoed faintly from above. But down in the tunnels there was only silence, and the strange pulse of blue light that followed them deeper underground. The tunnels beneath Outpost 9 were old and silent. Rust covered the walls and every sound echoed like a ghost. Jared's flashlight flickered as he climbed down after Lyra. The air was thick with dust and cold mist. Somewhere above, boots stomped and voices shouted orders. Lyra's faint blue glow was the only steady light. It followed her movements like soft water flowing around her body. She walked slowly, still weak, but her eyes scanned every shadow as if she had been here before. "They won't find us here," Jared whispered. "No one comes down to the mines anymore. Too dangerous." Lyra looked back at him. "Dangerous how?" "Collapsed tunnels, gas leaks, old machines that wake up and crush people," he said. "You know, the usual." Her lips curved slightly, the first hint of a smile since they met. "You make danger sound normal." "It is," Jared said. "Up there or down here doesn't make much difference anymore." They reached an old rail track half buried in ice. Jared brushed snow off a broken sign. The letters were faded but still readable. Level 7, mining zone restricted. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. "This level was shut after the reactor leak," he murmured. "Nobody survived." Lyra touched the wall gently. Her glow spread over the metal like veins of light. "No radiation," she said softly. "My kind can sense it. It's clean now." "Good to know," Jared muttered, pretending not to be amazed. He walked beside her, his boots crunching against ice. The tunnel narrowed, forcing them close together. He could feel the warmth coming from her body. Real warmth, not machine heat. It made the cold easier to bear. Above them, the distant thump of boots grew fainter, but then came the metallic buzz of a scanner. A red beam flashed down from a hole in the ceiling. Jared pulled Lyra into a side passage just in time. A mechanical voice echoed from above. "Sector sweep in progress. Energy source detected. Authorization, Captain Reeves." Jared's jaw tightened. "Reeves," he whispered bitterly. Lyra turned to him. "You know this man?" "Yeah," Jared said, anger creeping into his voice. "He was a soldier during the Orion Wars. I worked on his ship once. The man enjoyed breaking things. People, machines didn't matter. He's the kind who'd cut you open just to see how you work." Lyra's eyes darkened. "Then we cannot let him find us." They kept moving deeper down broken ladders and through narrow vents. The air grew warmer the farther they went, filled with the hum of old machinery that should have been dead decades ago. Finally, they entered a large cavern, a forgotten loading bay. Rusted mining robots lay scattered like skeletons. In the center stood a single inactive droid, its huge body covered in frost and dust. Lyra stopped suddenly. "Something here is calling me," Jared frowned. "Calling you." Before he could say more, the robot's chest light blinked once, then again. The machine stirred. Its massive arms moved with a slow creak, and a voice, broken and glitching, came from within. Jared Cole?" Jared froze. His heart hammered in his chest. "That's impossible." The robot's head turned toward him. "Jared Cole." "Registered mechanic. ID confirmed." Lyra stepped back, her glow pulsing nervously. "It knows you." Jared approached carefully. This model was part of the mining unit. They weren't built for speech. The robot's chest panel opened, revealing a flickering hologram. A face formed from static light. For a moment the image cleared and Jared's world stopped. It was his wife, Elena. Her voice, soft but broken by static, filled the cold air. "Jared, if you are seeing this..." Then the project failed. "They found out what we made." Jared's knees almost gave way. He whispered, "Elena?" The hologram flickered again. "We built something pure, something meant to heal worlds. But they turned it into war. They called it Project Ether." Lyra's eyes widened. "Ether, that was us. My people." The message continued. "If she finds you, protect her. She carries the key to undo what they did. But they will hunt her." "Reeves knows." The hologram ended. The robot's light faded, leaving only silence and the echo of Jared's ragged breathing. He stared at Lyra. "You were part of my wife's project. She helped create you." Lyra looked lost. "Then your wife saved me." "And you saved me again." Jared's mind spun. His wife, thought dead for years, had left a message for him buried under the ice. Everything, Lyra, Reeves, the war, was connected. Above them, an explosion shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra grabbed Jared's arm. "They found us." Red lights flashed through the cracks in the walls. Voices echoed closer. Jared grabbed a wrench from the floor. "Then we run again." Lyra nodded. Her glow brightened until the entire cavern shimmered blue. The robot stirred once more as if reawakened by her light. It turned toward the tunnel ahead and said in a deep metallic voice, "Follow me." Jared looked at Lyra. "You think it can lead us out?" Lyra smiled faintly. "I think..." It remembers her. Together the man, the alien, and the old machine vanished into the glowing tunnels as the hunt began above, where Captain Reeves swore he would burn the outpost down to find them. The tunnels grew wider the deeper they went, glowing with a strange blue light that came from the walls themselves. The robot moved slowly ahead, its heavy feet shaking the ground. Jared followed with Lyra close behind, her faint glow blending with the robot's dim lights. Every sound echoed through the dark, metal groaning, ice dripping, gears turning somewhere far below. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became. It was as if something alive was breathing beneath the frozen planet. Jared looked at the robot's back. Its frame was old and covered in rust, but it moved with purpose like it knew exactly where to go. "You sure this thing knows what it's doing?" he asked. Lyra nodded slowly. "I can feel it. There's a memory inside it. Something from her." "You mean my wife," Jared said quietly. He still couldn't believe it. After all these years, Elena's work had reached him in the form of this glowing alien woman. The robot stopped suddenly. "Destination reached," it said in a broken metallic voice. Its chest light flared brighter, scanning the wall ahead. With a deep rumble, the wall split open, revealing a hidden steel door marked with faded letters. "Research Division, Project Ethar." Jared stepped closer, his heart pounding. "This can't be real. This lab was shut down before I left Earth." Lyra touched the door gently. The metal rippled like liquid under her fingers and the lock clicked open. "It remembers me," she said softly. The door slid open, releasing a wave of warm air and a faint humming sound. Inside was a massive underground chamber filled with machines covered in frost and dust. Broken screens still blinked faintly. Glass tubes lined the walls, some shattered, others empty. The floor was cracked with glowing blue lines, like veins pulsing through metal. Jared walked slowly, his breath shaking. "She worked here," he whispered. "Elena." This was her project. Lyra followed him, her light reflecting off the glass. She stopped in front of one pod that was still active. It was filled with mist and dim blue light. Her voice trembled. "There's someone inside." Jared wiped the frost off the glass and froze. The name printed on the pod made his chest tighten. Dr. Elena Cole, his wife's name. He stumbled backward, unable to breathe. That's not possible. She died on the ship?" The robot's voice came from behind him, softer now. "Dr. Elena Cole. Status deceased. Memory transfer complete." Jared turned sharply. "Memory transfer? What are you saying?" The robot opened a small compartment in its chest. Inside was a glowing sphere, pale blue, alive with light. "This unit carries Dr. Cole's final data," it said. Her thoughts. Her warnings. Lyra stepped closer, eyes wide. She saved her mind. Inside the machine, Jared's hands shook as he took the sphere. It was warm, like holding a heartbeat. The robot's voice faded. "Protect her work. Do not let Reeves find it." Then it went still, its lights dimming to darkness. Lyra placed a gentle hand on Jared's shoulder. "She tried to save me," she said softly. "Your wife. She made me more than a weapon." Jared swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" Lyra looked at the glowing veins on the floor. "We were created to heal, to bring back life to dead worlds. But when the military took control, they changed us. They made us burn instead of heal." Her voice grew heavy with pain. "I was one of the last. Your wife refused to destroy me. She hid me here under the ice. She said one day someone she trusted would find me." Jared stared at her, realization sinking in. "She meant me." Lyra nodded. "You saved me because she believed you would." He sank to his knees, the sphere glowing in his hands. "Elena, even after death you still guide me." But the moment was cut short by a sharp alarm. Red lights began to flash across the room. A cold mechanical voice filled the chamber. "Unauthorized access detected. Security units activating." Metal doors around the room hissed open. Old defense drones came to life, their red eyes lighting up. Jared cursed under his breath. "We need to move now." Lyra raised her hands, her glow flaring bright. "I'll hold them." Blue light burst from her palms, creating a shimmering shield of energy. The first drone fired, its blast bouncing off the barrier. The room filled with light and noise. Jared grabbed the data sphere and stuffed it into his bag. "This way!" he shouted, pointing to a side tunnel. Lyra followed, her glow lighting the path as drones exploded behind them. The tunnel shook with each blast. They ran until the alarms faded and only their footsteps remained. When they finally stopped, Jared was breathing hard, sweat running down his face. Lyra leaned against the wall, her glow dimming. "We can't stay here," she said weakly. "Reeves will come. He will want what your wife left behind." Jared nodded. "Then we take it far from him. Whatever she started, we'll finish it." He looked back toward the dark tunnel behind them. The old robot's body still lay inside that lab, silent, but the faintest pulse of blue light flickered from its chest like a promise. Somewhere in that light, his wife's last words still echoed. "If she finds you, protect her." The tunnel walls glowed faintly blue as Jared and Lyra moved deeper underground. The air felt warmer now, almost alive, pulsing with energy that hummed through the ice and metal. Lyra's steps were slow, but each time her hand brushed the wall, light followed like veins waking under her touch. Jared walked behind her, his mind spinning. The data sphere from the robot felt heavy in his bag, heavier than its size could explain. Inside it were the final thoughts of his wife, Dr. Elena Cole, and maybe the truth about why Lyra existed at all. They stopped when the tunnel widened into a round chamber filled with cables and dim machinery. It looked like a control room from another age. Broken monitors blinked in the dark, showing flashes of stars, planets, and unknown symbols. Lyra knelt beside one of the consoles, her glowing fingers brushing over the surface. "This place remembers me," she whispered. "I can open it." "Wait," Jared said, kneeling beside her. "If this is military tech, it could trigger alarms again." She shook her head slowly. "No, this is not their system. This was hers, your wife's. That made him stop." "Elena built this?" Lyra nodded and pressed her hand to the console. The machine came alive, lights running through the cables like fire. A holographic image flickered into the air. And Jared saw her again. Dr. Elena Cole stood there, her face calm and bright, her eyes full of the same kindness he remembered. The message began to play. "If you're watching this," Elena's voice said, "then the war has already turned against us. They took Project Ether and turned it into a weapon. I tried to stop them. I failed." Jared's throat tightened. He couldn't look away. "We built the Athari," she continued. Beings of energy meant to heal dying planets. They could restore what humanity destroyed, but the military saw their power and wanted soldiers, not saviors. They changed their DNA. They turned life-givers into destroyers. Lyra's eyes glistened. "It's true," she said softly. "I remember the fire, the screams." The hologram turned slightly as if looking right at Lyra. "Lyra," Elena said, voice full of emotion. "You were my creation. My daughter in light. I hid you beneath the ice before they could take you too. You carry both the power to heal and to burn. What you choose will decide if worlds live or die." Jared stared at the hologram, unable to breathe. "She called you her daughter," he whispered. Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes soft. "Then you are my family too." Before Jared could respond, the hologram flickered again. "Jared," Elena said, "if you find her, protect her. Reeves knows what she is. He will come for her and for you. But remember, Lyra is not a weapon. She is hope. Don't let them take that from her." The message ended. The hologram faded, leaving only silence and the sound of humming machines. Jared sat down heavily, rubbing his face. "All these years," he whispered. "I thought she died trying to save soldiers, but she was saving you." Lyra touched his hand gently. Her touch was warm, almost human. "She believed in us both," she said. Before Jared could answer, a deep rumble shook the ground. The lights flickered. From the distance came the echo of metallic footsteps and the faint, sharp sound of radios crackling. Lyra's glow brightened in alarm. "They're here." Jared grabbed his bag. "Reeves." The tunnel behind them flashed red as laser sights cut through the dark. Voices shouted, "There!" The alien and the mechanic. "Take them alive." Jared ducked behind a console as blaster fire ripped through the room. Sparks exploded from the walls. Lyra raised her hand and a shimmering shield of light burst around them, blocking the first wave of shots. "Go," she shouted. "I'll hold them." I'm not leaving you, Jared yelled back. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter, almost blinding now. You must. The core chamber ahead, it holds the reactor. If they destroy it, this whole planet dies. Jared hesitated, torn between fear and something stronger, the memory of Elena's voice. You're not dying again, he said through gritted teeth. He pulled a metal pipe from the floor and charged toward the nearest soldier, knocking the weapon from his hand. Lyra's light flared, melting the snow around her into steam. The soldiers stumbled back, shouting as their visors glowed from the heat. She's overloading.
Fall back!
Jared grabbed Lyra's arm. Stop, you'll kill yourself. She looked at him, her face filled with pain and light. If I don't, they'll kill you. Her power erupted, a blinding wave of energy that swept through the chamber like fire and lightning combined. The walls cracked. The ground glowed with molten lines. When the light faded, the soldiers were gone, their weapons melted to ash. The air shimmered with heat. Jared blinked through the haze. Lyra? She stood trembling, her glow dimmed to a faint shimmer. I didn't want to hurt them, she whispered. But I had to. He caught her as she collapsed, her skin cold again. You saved me, he said softly. She opened her eyes weakly. I saved what she loved. Outside the chamber, faint alarms began again. Not from soldiers this time, but from the planet itself. The energy she had released had awakened something deep below the ice. Jared looked at the floor where cracks of light spread outward like a heartbeat. What did you just wake up? He murmured. Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. The heart of the world. The ground trembled beneath Jared's feet. The cracks of blue light spread wider, pulsing like veins through the ice. Each pulse was followed by a low, deep hum, a sound that seemed to come from the heart of the planet itself. Lyra lay weakly in his arms, her glow fading. It's waking, she whispered. The world remembers, Jared held her close. What did you do? I didn't mean to, she said softly. When I used my power. I touched the old core. It's alive now. The air around them shimmered with heat and light. Machines buried for centuries flickered back to life, humming and spinning. It felt as if the planet had been sleeping under the ice, waiting for someone like her to call it back. Jared looked around the broken chamber. The air was glowing faintly, the ice melting into water that steamed as it hit the floor. We need to move, he said. Reeves will be back, and this place looks ready to explode. Lyra tried to stand, but stumbled. Her legs trembled like glass about to shatter. Jared caught her and helped her to her feet. Easy, he said. You're burning up. I'm fine, she whispered, though her voice cracked. Just too much light inside me. They moved through the tunnels, following the hum that grew stronger with each step. It was as if something beneath the planet was calling her, not with words, but with emotion. Hope. Sadness. Memory. When they reached the surface, Jared stopped in shock. The frozen wasteland that had once been Outpost 9 was changing before his eyes. The ice was melting in wide circles, and green patches of moss and grass were growing through the cracks. The air felt warmer, softer. Snow turned to rain. Lyra fell to her knees. Tears glowed on her cheeks. It's happening, she whispered. I can feel the life returning. Jared knelt beside her, looking at the horizon. The sun, dim and red for years, now shone brighter. For a brief moment, the world looked alive again. But the peace didn't last. High above, a deep roar echoed across the sky. Jared looked up and saw ships, black, sharp, and fast. The human fleet. Reeves's fleet. A voice boomed from the sky through a loudspeaker. Jared Cole, surrender the alien. She is classified as a biological weapon. You are harboring an enemy of the human fleet. You have 1 minute, Jared's heart pounded. He looked at Lyra, who was staring at the ships with calm eyes. They'll destroy you, he said. They'll destroy everything, she replied softly. They can't let this world live. It proves what they fear, that life can heal itself without war. The first missile streaked down from the clouds, a burning trail of light. Jared grabbed her and ran for cover, diving behind a fallen tower as the explosion shook the ground. The warmth that had returned vanished under the roar of fire. Lyra, Jared shouted over the noise. We have to stop them. She stood slowly. The blanket he once gave her still wrapped around her shoulders like a cloak. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever before. No, Jared, we have to save them. What are you talking about? They're trying to kill you. Lyra touched his face gently. If I burn them, I become what they made me. But if I heal them, maybe they'll remember what it means to be human. Another missile screamed toward them. Jared shouted, "Lyra, no!" But she raised her hands to the sky. Light burst from her body. Not harsh this time, but pure and golden. The missile stopped midair, frozen in a field of shimmering energy. One by one, the others followed, suspended above the outpost like frozen stars. The explosions never came. Jared stared in awe. "You stopped them." Lyra's voice was calm, but her body trembled. Not stopped, changed. The missiles dissolved into glowing dust, scattering like sparks in the wind. The sky turned from red to gold. The ships above fell silent. Inside their cockpits, the soldiers watched in stunned silence as the warmth spread through their systems. The same warmth that once came from Lyra's touch. Down below, Jared could feel the heat fade from her skin. "Lyra, stop," he whispered. "You're killing yourself," she smiled weakly. "No, Jared, I'm giving myself." The glow from her body spread across the ground, racing outward. The ice melted faster, rivers forming, flowers blooming where there had been only snow and death. Jared fell to his knees beside her, clutching her hand. "Stay with me. You hear me? You saved the world, that's enough." Her voice was barely a whisper. "When I was freezing, you gave me your warmth. Now I give it back forever." Above them, the sky shone brighter than it ever had. The ships withdrew, unable to fight against beauty. The warships turned away, their engines fading into the clouds. Lyra's light dimmed until only her eyes glowed softly. "Jared," she said, her voice fading. "Promise me you'll keep the warmth alive." "I promise," he said, his voice breaking. "You'll never be forgotten." Her hand slipped from his and the glow faded completely. The blanket around her fluttered in the wind, now the only thing left where she once sat. The rain stopped. The sky turned clear. Outpost 9, once a grave of ice, had become a valley of green. Jared sat in silence, staring at the place where she vanished, the warmth still spreading through the earth. He whispered, "You burned the cold away. Lyra, you healed us all." The storm had ended. For the first time in years, the sun rose over Outpost 9 not as a weak red circle, but as a golden light that touched every surface. The ice fields that had once buried the planet were gone. In their place stretched rivers, green moss, and flowers that swayed in a gentle wind. The air was no longer sharp or deadly cold. It was soft, almost sweet, as if the world had taken its first breath after a long sleep. Jared Cole stood at the doorway of his small hut, staring at the miracle before him. He didn't understand how everything had survived the explosions or the fire in the sky, but he knew one thing for certain. Lyra had done this. She had changed everything. The once dead outpost now looked alive. Birds, real birds, circled above, creatures no one had seen here before. The metal towers were wrapped in vines, and the cracked streets shimmered with puddles of clean water. But inside the hut, the air was quiet. Jared turned slowly. On his bed lay the same silver blanket he had once bought with his last credit. It was empty now, smooth and warm, glowing faintly as if holding the memory of the one who had lain there. He sat down beside it, his rough hands trembling. The warmth in the room wasn't from the broken heater. It came from the blanket itself, from her. "Lyra," he whispered. He half expected her to answer, to open her eyes and smile that small, gentle smile. But only silence filled the room, the kind that pressed against the heart. He reached into his jacket and took out the glowing sphere, the one that carried his wife Elena's memory. It pulsed softly in his palm like it could feel his sorrow. "She's gone," he said quietly, his voice shaking. "Just like you." The sphere flickered and a soft, familiar voice answered. "No, Jared, she's not gone." Elena's hologram appeared again, her image faint but smiling. "Lyra's energy was not only in her body," the hologram said. "It's in everything now. The air, the ground, the light you feel on your face. She gave herself back to the planet she was made to heal." Jared's eyes filled with tears. "Then she's everywhere?" "Yes," Elena said softly. "And because of her, this world will live again. She fulfilled what we began." Jared nodded slowly, wiping his eyes. "She saved me. Both of you did. She believed in you," Elena continued, "just as I did. You carried hope when the world gave up on it. That's what made her trust you." The hologram dimmed but lingered for a moment longer. Keep her warmth alive, Jared, that's how you keep her here. Then the light faded, leaving him alone again, but not truly alone. He stepped outside once more. The wind brushed against his face, warm and alive. When he looked down at the ground, he noticed tiny blue flowers pushing through the soil. Their glow was faint but familiar, the same soft light that once came from Lyra's skin. Jared knelt and touched one of the flowers gently. It was warm. He smiled sadly. You kept your promise, he said. In the distance, the few surviving workers from the outpost gathered, staring in disbelief at the new world around them. Jared walked toward them slowly. Some pointed, others whispered his name. They had seen what happened in the sky. They had seen Lyra's light save them. Captain Reeves was among them, his uniform burned and torn. His face was pale as he looked around at the green fields. What did she do? He muttered, almost in fear. Jared stopped in front of him. She gave you life. Something you never understood. Reeves looked at the ground, unable to meet his eyes. And you? You helped her? I didn't help her, Jared said quietly. She helped all of us. Reeves said nothing more. For once, the soldier had no orders to give. As the days passed, Jared began rebuilding his hut. The outpost turned into a settlement again. This time not for mining, but for life. Seeds grew easily, animals returned, and the cold was gone for good. Every night when the new sun set and the stars filled the sky, Jared would lie on his bed and pull the silver blanket over himself. It still carried her warmth, gentle, constant, never fading. Sometimes, as he closed his eyes, he could almost hear her voice. Now you'll never be cold again. And every morning when he woke, sunlight streamed through the window, soft and golden. It reminded him that she was still there, not just in the air he breathed, but in the life that surrounded him. One evening, as he sat by the river that now ran where ice used to be, he saw something glowing beneath the water. He leaned closer. The light pulsed once, twice, and for a moment he could have sworn he saw Lyra's reflection smiling up at him, her silver eyes shining before fading into the ripples. He didn't reach for her. He just smiled back. Rest now, he whispered. You've done enough. The wind carried his words across the valley, soft and warm, and somewhere in that warmth the planet breathed, alive, gentle, and eternal. He had spent his last credit on warmth for another, and she had given him the warmth of an entire world.